Hello and welcome back to the Geeks Design Show. I'm your host, Divya Goel, an architect, design tech obsessive, and somebody who cannot believe that we are already in episode 7. And today's guest is very, very special because we've waited for this for a very long time. And before we get into the introduction of our today's guest, I would like to ask, and I've been very curious, and what does it actually take to build something from scratch? While working a full time job, studying for a master's, winning international design awards, freelancing for one of the most exciting AI first studios in London, today's guest is doing all of that simultaneously and somehow making it look considered rather than chaotic. So, Pouya Nasr is an architect and designer now based in Lincoln, UK. He has won silver awards at Idea Design Awards, an interior architecture master's from University of Lincoln, a role as an AI visualizer at Studio Timfu, and as of early 2026, he's the founder of Wandify, which we'll talk about in detail later. An AI-enabled workflow platform built specially for architecture and design studios. I'm Divya Goel, your host at the Geeks Design Show, and this conversation is one I've been genuinely looking forward to.
Perfect. Thank you, Divya. Hello to everyone. My name is Pouya Nasr, an interior architect and designer currently based in the UK. My work sits at the intersection of design, AI, and visual storytelling. I'm particularly interested in integrating AI in visualization. And over the past few years, I've worked across different scales from architectural concepts to high end visualization and always trying to push the ideas beyond the conventional and keeping up with the technology. In this conversation, I'm excited to share my journey, my challenges, and our dear mate, AI. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction. And you trained as an architect in Ifsahan and worked at award-winning firms in Iran, and then made the decision to uproot everything and pursue a master's in Lincoln, UK. So, what was actually driving that move, and how terrifying was it?
Well, first of all, I need to say, yes, moving from Isfahan to UK was both exciting and terrifying. Isfahan is one of the most architecturally rich cities in the world. You grow up surrounded by centuries of spatial intelligence and geometric thinking. That background shaped how I see design. I believe that a mix of curiosity and ambition is what took me from my home country to a global context. And I was curious to test whether the skills I developed there, especially in architectural visualization and design storytelling, could operate internationally. And the UK felt like the right environment because it sits at the intersection of architecture, technology, sorry, and international practice. The first few months were very challenging. New language, new professional culture, new everything. But architecture has a universal language. And when the work is strong, it speaks across the borders. So in a way, diversity and immigration are like fire. You can use it to build a stronger and more global community gathering around it, or you can let it burn the house. It really depends on how you approach it, and that's what I think about. Uh, the realization gave me they gave me the confidence that a designer from anywhere can contribute meaningfully to the global architectural conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were also a part of two silver winning projects at the Idea Design Awards in 2023, City Moon and a
Hmm.
pedestrian bridge, and Woody with Buddy, a product design, both before your masters, both in Iran. And how did winning international awards from Isfahan change how you saw your own potential?
That's a great question. Winning the IDA Design Awards and the Architectural Master Prize in the US while working in Iran was a turning point for me. It showed that the design thinking can travel globally regardless of where it originates. And it was an honor to collaborate with Polshir architects in the City Moon project. My role was related to the focusing on translating architectural ideas into visual narratives. that could communicate the concept clearly to an international jury. The experience made me realize that architectural visualization is not just decoration. It's a form of design communication, in my opinion, and the image becomes an argument for the project. Imagine someone who cannot speak and cannot hear at the same time, but wants to ask a simple question like, "What time is it?" So they have to communicate visually, and in a way that is a professional that is a profession of the visualizer. You assume the imagine has to speak loud because you cannot explain it in words. A strong image communicates on its own, and just like a deaf mute person learns how to communicate using the abilities they have, visualizers develop visual language to communicate ideas. And now AI is expanding those abilities. That insight pushed me to take visualization seriously as a professional discipline within architecture, something that later shaped both my work with AI tools and the creation of Wandify as well.
Perfect. And that's something that we would discuss in detail about the power of AI in architecture, because no matter how much we are using it, we still kind of don't fully understand the potential of it. But first of all, I would like to talk about your work as a freelance AI visualizer at Studio Timfu, the practice we featured in an earlier episode of the series, and what does that role actually involve day to day? And what does it tell you about how seriously AI forward studio approaches visual output?
Well, at the Studio Team Food, the expectation is that every image is an architectural argument, not just a render or a visual. We are all constantly learning as we go. Beyond my career, I see myself as an active learner who always tries to keep up with the emerging tools, emerging technologies, AI-driven workflows, and um, all of the subjects related to that. And Studio Team Food sits at the frontier of AI-driven architecture, and the approach there is about working smart, not simply working more and like a hard worker. My role as an AI visualizer is not just generating images. It's about art directing AI systems to communicate architectural ideas clearly and vividly. In practice, this means combining traditional architectural tools like Rhino 3ds Max with emerging AI tools such as Nano, Banana, Magnific, and VEO, blah, 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 um, to develop ideas, to develop images and visual narratives that supports the design process. Currently, I focus a lot on analyzing a strong visual outputs, studying them in terms of visual hierarchy, image composition, and the first impression they create. And this analysis is not limited to Studio Tinfu. I also study the work of leading studios like Zaha Hadid Architects, Foster and Partners, and BIG or Bejarka Ingels Group as well.
Oh, perfect. So, getting into the AI in a bit more detail, you work across a range of tools, including Nano Banana, Magnific AI, VO, Kling AI, Rhino, 3ds Max, the softwares, V-Ray, Lumion. So most architects pick two or three and go deep. You seem to go wide deliberately, and I would like to get to understand more about it.
Well, of course. I internationally explore a wide range of tools because the AI ecosystem is evolving extremely fast. And what matters is not mastering a single interface, but understanding the underlying visual language and the logic of these systems. And once you understand how image models interpret materials, lighting, spatial depth, you can transfer that knowledge between tools very quickly. And for me, the key question is always, what does this image need to communicate? A concept image for a client requires different approach from a competition visual or a publication quality render, for example. Um, The tool should always serve the architectural narrative, not the other way around. And
Hmm.
understanding workflows in AI era is the key. That thinking is actually what led me toward building Wandify, my AI online platform.
Perfect. And I am really curious, first of all, congratulations on making your own platform, which is already doing something very unique. And let's get into a bit more detail on Wandify. You launched Wandify in January 2023, an AI-enabled workflow platform for architecture and design studios. And you're building a product working at Studio Timfo in interning at TNA Core, and you just finished a master's. So why now and why not wait until the conditions were more comfortable?
Honestly, the conditions were never going to become more comfortable, so I stopped waiting for them to be. When I was a student, I clearly saw the challenges the students face when trying to visualize their ideas. They spend a huge amount of time, energy, and resources on that process. So I came up with the idea of an AI powered platform that could help solve this issue by integrating AI into the designer's workflow, saving time, energy, and resources. So it was a gap in this culture. And this applies not only to the students, but also to the design studios. The goal is not just to generate images fast, but to give the designers better control over how architectural ideas are communicated. And that's also why I organized an AI workflow at the University of Lincoln, my university, in March 2026. Um, I mean AI workshop. I said AI workflow, sorry, but AI workshop. I worked with the current students, taught them how these tools work, and gave them free credits to explore my platform so they could experience with a smarter design process. And in a way, Wandify started as something that helped me as a user, but it also started helping a wider community, including the students. Architects need consistency and the ability to iterate quickly on a single image without losing the special logic.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So let's get deep into the Wandify app and how your Wandify app is better versus the platforms, the AI platforms that we already have. So as you've explained, that Wandify offers text to image, precise editing, style control, multi-image composition, and 4K output,
Mhm.
all positioned specially for architecture and commercial design. What makes an AI image platform genuinely useful for architects and versus what makes it just another tool that architects are already using?
That's a great question. Simply put the platform, I have to say, simply the platform is not just a generator, it's a design workflow tool. So when it comes to the visualization, there are many ways to translate what exists in your mind into an image. And the way you do that connect directly to Wandify's unique selling point. Um, Wandify's node-based studio provides a space where designers can manage and build their workflows, compare iterations, and keep results organized across different threads. Um, Features like targeted editing, style consistency across multiple images, and architectural scale outputs allow designers to iterate without losing the design logic. And currently, the platform is still under development, and several mini apps will be added soon as new features to make the process even easier. And the idea is to minimize heavy prompting by replacing it with more um, creative tools. While many platforms remain generic, Wandify focuses especially and specifically on the professional needs of architects and designers.
That's really good. And the distinction between visual impressiveness and architectural communication is one that the whole industry is navigating right now. And you have articulated the gap clearly and built this answer to it. And you also curated and designed an equality, diversity, and inclusion exhibition at the University of Lincoln, Prism, which is a very
Yeah.
different kind of storytelling from architectural visualization. So, what does that exhibition design teach you about how people experience space and narrative that purely digital work cannot?
Hmm. Prism was interesting, yeah, because it forced me to think beyond a single image. In visualization, you control the frame, but in an exhibition, people control their own journey through the space. So, as a curator and as a team member, you design the conditions for a story to unfold rather than dictating exactly how it will be experienced. So the experience changed how I approach architectural images as well. And a good image should suggest a larger special narrative beyond the frame, and it should make you feel that the space continues outside the picture. Imagine you have created a golden coin and you want to give it to someone in a large crowd, um, full of people. I mean, you have to call out so that the person can find you. And in this metaphor, the impressive visual is the golden coin, and designing the experience is like calling out to guide people toward it. Moving between physical exhibitions and AI generated imagery, sorry, reminds me that architecture is ultimately about people moving through the space. Um, Not just about the beautiful visuals. And Prism was also recognized as a top curated exhibition at the University of Lincoln. And thanks to the whole team, it taught me something important. If individual work is 10, teamwork could be 10,000, 10K.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? And you're a great example for this. You've come from Iran, built your skills largely through self-teaching and practice, won international awards, moved to the UK, did a master's, started a company, and are now working inside one of the most forward-thinking AI studios in London. So did improve. And for a young architect in Iftihan, Tehran, or anywhere outside the traditional centers, what is the honest first step?
The honest first step is to, I think, is to strengthen their perspective and attitude. It happens via exploring successful project from well-known architects, traveling to see the world and getting inspired from people's manner, architecture, culture, geometry, etc. It's the game of strengthening the eyes as well. When it specifically comes to the visualization, the more you see precisely, describe, and explore, the stronger you will be. Eyes are like a muscle for us as a designers,
It is, it is, yeah.
and yeah, other skills are much helpful. For example, sculpturing. Nowadays, it's more important to be the art curator rather than an art creator. So each project is an art which lives for a long time. And if I were starting today, I would learn how to um, art direct AI tools the same way I learned to art direct traditional CG. Also managing my workflows, the skills transfer, the visual intelligence transfers, and that's it. The people who will thrive are those who can bring architectural judgment to the tools, not the ones who simply press generate and wait to see what happens. Because nowadays everyone can create beautiful images and impressive images, and yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Having something unique to your platform is your, I think, superpower over all the platforms that are still lacking in terms of having that intuitiveness. So Wandify is still early though, and where do you see it in 2 years? Not the features, the impact. If it works the way you hope, what is the difference? What is different about how a small architecture studio in Lincoln or anywhere else does it work?
Yeah, yeah. That's a lovely question and also exciting. So AI is developing and getting precise very fast, as I said. And one day it covers the technical aspects precisely as well. So the designer's time goes back to design, and the conversation with the client becomes richer, I think. And Wandia's vision is to equip the companies, designers, students, communities, etc., based on the brand new tools of the time to add value to the global design industry as an impact. And Wandify is a tool that levels the playing field between a 10-person studio in Lincoln and 100% studio in London. The design intelligence is already there in different scale and practices.
Yeah, definitely. Leveling the playing field between a 10-person studio and a 100-person studio. That's the mission statement in one sentence. And given that you have lived on both sides of that equation, as a freelancer and now as a founder, you know exactly what the gap feels like. So thank you so much for this conversation, which covered more ground than most architects cover in a decade of practice. The work is already speaking for itself, which links to Wandify app. And your portfolio of Studio Timfu are all in the show notes. If you want to see, for all the viewers, what AI visualization looks like when it's treated as an architectural argument rather than a rendering shortcuts, let's start here. So thank you so much, Pouya, for this lovely podcast today. I'm Divya Goel.
Thank
This is
you.
the Geeks Design Studio. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and YouTube. And if this episode changed how you think about what a young architect from anywhere can build, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And thank you so much for your time today.